Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. My name is Sarah Wiles, and I'm a Customer Success Manager here at Leostream. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Karen Gondoli, our CEO and VP of Product. Karen will be discussing Leostream's remote access management for Azure and on-premises environments. She'll dive into some of the benefits of supporting a hybrid workforce with Leostream, such as enabling business continuity by bursting into the cloud and really providing a seamless experience to end users regardless of where they are located. She'll also jump into a live demo of the Leostream platform, highlighting this type of workflow. And with that, Karen, I will turn it over to you to get started.
All right, great. Thanks, Sarah. So with that said, let's just go right over to talking a little bit about why you might want to do this in the first place. Why go hybrid? Now, in this particular discussion, we're talking mostly about Azure, and that's what you'll see in the demo. But really, hybrid with Leostream can mean just about anything. That's one of the great things about the Leostream platform. It allows you to build a hosted desktop and application solution that's hosted anywhere that works for you, whatever region you're in, whatever platform you want, whatever cloud, on-prem, you name it. You have the flexibility to provide the best user experience to your users, no matter where they are. So again, but here we're talking about specifically Azure. So some of the things that we've heard recently, that we throw out this word hybrid, and historically hybrid has always meant cloud and on-prem, but over the last couple of years, hybrid has come to mean your workforce and just the solutions that you're wrapping into your IT systems in general. So why go hybrid with your infrastructure is one reason, probably because your workforce is now hybrid as well. Some of them are in the office, some of them are traveling again, some of them are home. The thing is, you've got these users who need to be able to work anywhere. And we're in a climate now where you just probably won't be able to send everybody back to the office. You will lose employees. You won't be able to hire as effectively. By supporting a hybrid workforce, which is easier to do with a hybrid infrastructure, you can foster employee loyalty with those that you have by allowing them to work from anywhere. And then obviously you can hire from anywhere, because now you don't have to host your machines at your office. You can host them in whichever cloud region is closest to the place where you're hiring employees from. That's a great thing about Azure, is it does have regions all around the globe, really. So it does open up your hiring possibilities, not just for long-term or permanent, I should say, a permanent employee, but also if you're in an organization where you have project-based work or just seasonality of staffing, you can use the cloud as a great way to hire from anywhere for those projects, host the resources where they need to be, and do that in a bursting kind of capacity. So I only am using resources when I need them and when I'm hiring the staff. That allows you obviously to save cost. If you had to build up an infrastructure in your data center to support a very flexible a workforce that expands and contracts. If you had to do that with hardware by actually building a hardware, that's difficult to do. But in the cloud, it's very easy to do. And you have tools like Leostream, you can automate that and make sure that you're managing those systems in a way that lower your cost. Another point here is onboarding faster. Again, if you're thinking about hardware, if you have to buy hardware when you have new employees, there's a time associated with that, especially now or anytime that there's supply chain issues. It's going to take a while for you to acquire new hardware, and then you have to have the IT resources to configure that hardware and obviously maintain the software and systems that are installed on it or that it interacts with. If you move a lot of that up into the cloud, well, now I can create a new instance in the cloud as soon as I hire that person, and then your IT staff can manage the system from anywhere as well. That is another thing about having a hybrid environment that's managed by Leostream. It's not just making it easier for end users, it's also making it easier for your IT staff. We talk a lot about how it simplifies IT. You have a single platform where IT can reboot machines instead of going to the hosting platforms management portal. It's a single platform where IT can see who's using what across all of these disparate systems that they have, either on-prem or up in the cloud. So onboarding is faster, IT administration is easier. And as Sarah mentioned, really it's about a seamless end user experience. When you use Leostream to manage your hybrid environment, your users go to a single portal and they get access to whatever IT has given them permission to access. And it doesn't matter where that's hosted. All the end user knows is I go to the site, I type in a username and password, and then I get to do my job. And so that makes it easy for them. And it also makes them more productive because the less they have to think about the system they're using to access their tools, the more time they have to actually invest in thinking about those tools and doing their job. So I mentioned AVD here. Now, I'm not going to show you AVD integrated with Leostream, but you can actually put our Leostream agent on an AVD instance, and it'll look just like another Azure instance to Leostream, and you can manage connections to that as well. But one of the things they talk about with Azure Virtual Desktops is that it's a flexible solution. Well, if you think that's flexible, you haven't seen nothing yet. And so let's show you what Leostream can do for you. Let me switch to my screen. That guy. Okay, so here I'm looking at the portal for the Leostream connection broker. In this case, I've got two tabs open. I'm going to log in one place as an end user and then another as an administrator. Here's my very simple Azure environment right now. So I have a connection broker running up in there. I have a desktop. Here I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as an end user, just to show you what an end user sees. And in this case, I log in and I'm offered at this point in time an on-premises machine. This happens to be hosted in our data center on VMware through my Leostream policy that my IT admin has set up. They've given me permission to restart the machine. In case I try to connect and it's frozen, I can reboot it on my own without having to go to IT. That's another way to simplify IT administration there. So now let's think about what happens. I'm working on-prem, and this is a pool of machines. And now we've hired more people, but we haven't had time to, our vSphere environment was maxed out. We can't put more VMs on there. Or maybe these are a pool of physical workstations and we haven't gotten the delivery of the new workstations. For whatever reason, I'm out of resources on premises. So let's simulate that, and I can show you from an end user experience how they really don't even notice. To do that, let's log in as the admin here. So here I log in as the administrator, and now obviously my view looks different. And what I see here is all controlled by roles that you build inside of Leostream. So you have control over how much people can view and how much they can edit here. So I'm going to log in here, and then I'm going to go and show you a little bit about this setup, and then we can move on. So first, let's look over at centers. So I mentioned this is a hybrid environment. I actually have this particular connection broker connected to all three of the major public clouds that we support. Here we're focusing on Azure. And then I also mentioned that I'm managing our on-prem VMware VMs in here. So once I have my center set up, the broker reaches out to those hosting platforms and inventories everything. And all the virtual machines, instances in the cloud, physical workstations and AD, whatever you have, end up all listed here on the desktops page. So here, what I've done is, I inventoried a lot out of our VMware environment. So I just wanted to be able to see what's important to me. So all of our lists actually come with a really comprehensive and easy to use set of filters. So you can tailor this list to show the information that you want to see, not just by filtering contents, but also by customizing the columns. We store a lot of information about the different resources you're managing. And so you can see the information that's most important to you. And then you can actually do really cool things like download it to CSV files. It's up here, export list, and create pretty reports, all that kind of stuff. Again, all about simplifying IT and making it easy for you to track and report on what's going on in your system. So I happen to know that the machine that I was offered here was this particular machine here. So now as an example, let's say for whatever reason this machine has become unavailable. I'm going to manually mark it unavailable, but it could be that the Leostream agent has shut down and you've set up your policy to not offer machines that don't have a running agent. It could be that all the machines are stopped and you've decided that you don't want to offer stop machines. For whatever reason that's configured by you, this machine is now not available for that user. So now what would happen is I would come in here, and when I logged in, notice now I've actually failed over to a backup pool, which happens to be up in Azure. And because it's in Azure, we want to make sure that our backup machines are stopped. And that way the user can come in here and start the machine on their own when they need it. And obviously that's all about saving cloud costs. I don't want these machines running in the background. So let's show a little bit about the magic that happened behind the scenes to make this offer change. To do that, we're going to go into the configuration section here. So I have created a number of pools in this particular environment. What I first did was and this was just for my organizational purposes, I created a pool that was all the on-premises machines, which is essentially everything in our VMware environment. How you create pools in Leostream is very, very flexible, and we have this unique concept of nesting pools, which you won't see in any of the other products that are out there. And the reason the nesting is important is because, again, simplifying IT, it allows you to do things that say, I have an IT admin who manages the VMware machines. So I want to create a role for the broker at large that allows him to see just everything in VMware and go to that desktops page and reboot, do whatever, but only for that pool. But that's not what I'm offering users. I don't want to offer my users everything that's in VMware. So now I have a subpool, just my VMs. And that's what I was offering through my policy to my user. And then what I had similarly, I had a pool of everything that's in Azure. Obviously, I don't want to offer that out to my users, but then I have my backup VMs here. So these are machines that happen to start with my name. And I am tracking historical pool assignments and connections. This is great. This is where that dashboard that opened when I first came to the broker, it gets the information for the pools that you turn on tracking for. We don't turn it on for all the pools because it does store a lot of data. Maybe you're cognizant about only the pools that you want to track for. But notice this pool also enables provisioning. So there's a couple machines in this pool that were hanging out there just in case somebody failed over. Again, they were powered off, so I'm not getting any cloud compute costs racking up in the background on me. But then I have provisioning enabled so that if people start grabbing pools, we'll start provisioning off more. And in this case, I have some very simple static limits set to 2 and 4. And then the provisioning parameters then tell the connection broker how to provision the machine when one is needed. So if I had pressed connect or start and connect on that machine I was offered, it would provision out a new machine to replace the one I took over based on the settings I have here. A couple of the new things that we've added, I thought I'd point out while I'm here. We did just add support for Azure Compute Galleries. So you used to be able to provision from images. Now you can provision still from images, but also from images that are stored in Azure Compute Gallery, which happens to be what I'm doing there. So I've selected my gallery and the image in the gallery that I'm provisioning from. In some cases, depending on the type of image that you're provisioning and the size that you select, whatever, we also did add the ability to provision the OS as ephemeral. It used to be that we always made dedicated storage for that, but you can now check that box, and as long as it's supported in Azure, we'll spin up the instance with an ephemeral OS, and there's obviously some really good cost savings and speed savings associated with that. So those are the two pools that were part of the policy. And I will come back to this pool to show you another scenario later. But for now, we're just going to talk about failing over to a backup pool when I run out of on-prem resources. So to move on then, what we're going to do next is look at protocol plans. So you're in Azure, you want to make sure you keep these machines off of the internet. So you create a private network inside of Azure and you spin up your instances inside of that. That's obviously good for security. Then what you can do is use the Leostream gateway to tunnel the connections for the users from their client devices, no matter where they are, into the Azure private network. Obviously, I don't go through that gateway if I'm on-prem. So I have two protocol plans here. One that goes, or just regular, I happen to just be using RDP. Using RDP, and another one that will do RDP but pass the connection through the gateway that's over in Azure. So I have 2 protocol plans. And then I have some release plans here, which are also about helping me control cloud costs in this case, because I'm provisioning out a machine for the user when the, you know, to make sure I have capacity in the backup pool there. But when the user is done, I want that machine to go away. I want the user to be working on-prem when there are on-prem resources available. But in the case there's not, they fail over to the pool that's up in the cloud. But the next time they log in, if there's on-prem resources again, well, they should go back there, and I should be deleting the machine that was left behind in Azure. And that's done through release plans here. So here I happen to have a plan that if the user disconnects, it'll wait 30 minutes. If they don't reconnect, I'm going to log them out. And then the log out triggers this section of the plan, which releases the machine to the pool. And then after that, that triggers this section of the plan, which is going to delete the machine. Now, the nice thing about Leostream is that when you're working in Azure, you launch an instance in Azure, you get a network interface. If you're not using the ephemeral disk, you're going to get a disk. You're going to get the VM itself. Obviously, we have an option to provision out a floating IP for it. If you want us to really want it on the internet, we can do that. But then these all show up as different resources inside of the Azure portal. Well, with Leostream, we will clean up all of that as when you ask us to delete the machine. So if you have provisioned the machine within Leostream, when we delete it based either on a release plan or if you request to delete in any other way, we'll go up to Azure and make sure that we tidy everything up. And so that's really great for helping you keep your Azure environment neat and tidy. So the pools and the plans all come together in policies. It's this policy that ultimately I, as an end user, was offered and what determined what I saw when I logged in. And the policy happens to be this cloud backup policy here. So if I look just in the pool assignments, you can see I was offered one machine from the on-premises pool, and then I assigned a backup pool, which happens to be a pool that's up in Azure. What causes Leostream to fail over to the backup pool is determined by you. Could be either the agent has shut down, the remote viewer port is available. RDP is probably fine, but if you're running a third-party protocol, sometimes their senders go down. You want to track if that happens. Or in this case, I'm saying we were just out of capacity. I had 10 machines in the pool. They were all in use. Please send the user up to Azure until another one is available on-prem. Now, notice here, I can actually assign different plans to both the primary pool and the backup pool. And this is obviously very important. And for that reason, I said about protocol. The primary pool connection is going to use the default protocol plan, but the backup goes through that Azure DR protocol plan to send you through the Azure gateway. And then the other thing I'll just point out is there is this policy option that I check that allows the user to restart their desktop. If you don't want users to be able to restart their desktops, just don't check the box. So that policy was assigned to me through my AD credentials. Now, Leostream does have a number of different ways that you can authenticate. You can use Azure AD that works with Leostream through our support for the SAML protocol. In this case, what we've actually heard a lot is some people are not wanting to necessarily go down the full AVD route because they don't want to use Azure AD. They have their own AD servers and infrastructure that they want to continue to use. And so that's a great use case for Leostream. You can leverage whatever authentication works for you to log into Leostream and then connect to the desktops that way. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just showing simple AD logins here. And here you notice that I happen to get the cloud backup policy whenever I log in from an on-premises web browser. Okay. Let's talk about another use case for using Azure in a hybrid environment managed by Leostream. And that is for more of a business continuity DR scenario. In the previous scenario, I was essentially using the cloud for bursting. I was out of capacity. Now I want to say, okay, what happens? My VMware environment has gone down, or the power's out to my building for whatever reason. Now what I want to do is be able to say, ooh, you know what? I want to keep people productive. So I'm going to very quickly, behind the scenes, fail them over to a pool of machines that are up in Azure. And again, to the end user, they will not know. So to do that, I created a separate pool here, which is my DR pool. So the DR pool is empty right now. There's nothing in it. I have provisioning off, but I have it staged and ready to go in case I need it. Almost, let's provision off more than one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable provisioning, and that's going to say, you know what, I've got, in my case, 3 employees. I've got 3 employees, powers out to the office, so I'm going to give them an Azure machine. So I'm just going to pre-populate the pool now with machines for them to use when they get in. And so again, I set up the provisioning parameters. I again am provisioning from a compute gallery here, and I'm just going to click save. So now over in Azure, that is going to start provisioning off machines. And so I can look over at the log here, and you can see it's starting up 3 machines. I can see them start to appear. I just do my filters correctly. I can see them start to appear here on the desktops page here. And of course, more importantly, I should see them again if I do my filters correctly, start to appear over here in Azure as well. So now the question is, how do I fail the user over to that pool? There are a couple of ways to do that, but essentially what I want to do is change the user's policy. I already staged, in the event this happens, a DR policy. And the DR policy essentially says, go ahead and offer 1 machine from that DR pool, and again, connect through the Azure gateway that I've set up, Azure Leostream gateway. So now I can come over here to my assignments page and just switch my user's policy to the DR policy. That again is happening, you know, I was home for the day, didn't know what was going on. I come in the next day and type in my password. And now when I sign in, suddenly I get something out of the DR pool. It's really all about seamless end user experience for the user. Now, in that example, I showed you how I clicked around and I changed the user's policy and I populated my pool. But we are in the process of writing a RESTful API. The API for the pools is already there. Policies is there as well. A couple little pieces still left to do, but we're rolling out updates to the RESTful API. So at some point in time, all of that will be scriptable. So now you'll have a DR event, you'll run your DR script. All of that would happen in the background, and your users are just up and running and ready to go. So I think I will go ahead and close out there and just hand you back over to Sarah.
All right, thanks, Karen. Well, for those of you interested in learning more about Leostream, you can visit our website at leostream.com. We have a lot of blogs and demonstrations highlighting various use cases, and you can also request a fully supported free trial of the Leostream platform. You can also reach out to sales@leostream.com to connect with a team member to assist with a proof of concept or answer any other questions that you may have. We look forward to hearing from you.